Good morning. I'm meteorologist Andrew Pritchard with Nutrien Ag Solutions, providing a brief update here on the ag weather picture, filling in for Eric Snodgrass, who has some busy travel plans here the next 48 hours. He's in Fresno this morning, going to be taking a red-eye flight back through the overnight into the early morning. So I'm filling in today. Matt Reardon will be filling in tomorrow morning. Not to tell you not to watch my update here today. We'll certainly talk about what's going on over the next 10 to 14 days, but I really want to encourage you, if you didn't watch yesterday's update from Eric, go back and watch it today because he provided a great update on the drought picture across the U.S. right now. Talked about some of the bigger factors that contribute to drought, some of our more significant droughts across the ag belt here in the U.S., and some of those factors that we're watching right now as we go through the winter into the early spring, try to build a picture or build a story about whether or not this drought's going to be holding on, whether or not it's something we'll be talking about into the 2025 growing season. So a great in-depth analysis yesterday from Eric. I'll certainly show you the update here. This is the stale drought monitor image here from last week. We'll be getting a new image later on today, and I imagine we'll continue to see that drought picture worsening across the ag belt across the United States. And some of the bigger questions that we'll have to answer during the near-term weather forecast period is how much relief will we see from a couple storm systems that'll be coming through over the next 7 to 10 days. It's certainly been a dry month of October as we take a look at the precipitation ranks by climate district. Again, this is the last 24 days, your first couple of 3 weeks of October. A lot of places here, from the Dakotas down to Texas to the southeast U.S., up through the eastern Corn Belt, and then even over toward the northeastern U.S. that are working on a top 5, if not a top 2, top 3, maybe wet or driest, October on record. Again, just a real lack of organized flow, organized storm systems, and we've really shut down the Gulf of Mexico. That's been the recipe for the short-term drought. We'll talk about how long that's really going to be lasting. Now, I'll start off with the hazards map. Relatively quiet across the lower 48. We do have red flag warnings in place across portions of northeastern Colorado. Some strong winds coming in on the backside of a little compact area of low pressure in the north central plains right now. So gusty winds, dry conditions across those areas. Look for the rapid spread of any fires that develop. So just be aware if you're out there doing field activities today. Be aware of that hot machinery. Don't be parking it over any dry combustibles. Be aware of sparks, and then no open fires today across those areas. Now, surrounding that, we've got some freeze watches as well. We're talking about some colder air coming in on the backside. That would be tonight into tomorrow morning across portions of Colorado, northwest Kansas, and then southwest Nebraska. And then way over here, we've got freeze and frost warnings as well across portions of the Pacific Northwest, and gale warnings with some strong winds associated with an area of low pressure that's going to be building there over the next 24 to 72 hours. Now, we'll flip over, we'll look at the SPC, the Storm Prediction Center's convective outlook. So your severe weather outlook today, that little area of low pressure across the Central Plains continues to move off to the east today. We'll look for a low risk for a couple of stronger storms across portions of the Missouri Valley, parts of Iowa down into Missouri, and eastern Kansas. Look for some really just a larger cluster of shower and storm activity. And then there's the potential that a couple of those stronger storms could produce some locally severe weather, maybe some gusty winds up to 60 miles per hour, maybe a stronger storm producing some 1-inch hail, and then also could look for some locally heavy rainfall there. Not looking for a widespread soaking event, but certainly some stronger updrafts could produce some locally severe weather is what we're talking about here through the next 12 to 18 hours. Now we'll take a look at the radar picture. Let me go ahead and stop this. We'll bring it back. Let's get to, this is through the overnight and then here to about sunrise this morning. You just see some scattered showers, kind of a broader area of light rain tracking across the northern high plains into the Dakotas this morning. Some light showers off to the north across the Canadian prairie as well. Really inconsequential light precipitation at this point. Now, this storm system begins to organize a bit more as we get through the later part of the afternoon and evening. Let me let this kind of catch up here. This will be about 10 a.m. this morning, getting to midday. It's later on in the afternoon toward the evening that we'll expect to see this larger area of showers and storms. There you see it starting to develop. Look at the time up here, 7, 8, 9 p.m. tonight. So this is really predominantly an overnight event. So much of the day dry across the Missouri Valley. Look for those showers and storms to increase during the overnight. Again, locally heavy rainfall, maybe a strong storm or two as these storms kind of organize and move into portions of Illinois during the early morning hours. So as the sun comes up tomorrow, Friday morning, look for some showers, maybe a couple of storms in the eastern Corn Belt, parts of Illinois into Indiana, those showers extending into the Great Lakes as well. And then this storm system kind of gets out of here pretty quickly as we get through the day on Friday. This is midday Friday. We'll let this catch up once again. This would be Friday afternoon, getting into the Friday evening time frame. Light showers through the Ohio Valley, dry elsewhere across the Corn Belt. Those showers continue on into the northeast during the day on Saturday, but really the storm system kind of washes out, not producing really heavy, widespread beneficial moisture as it gets its way into the northeast on Saturday. Then we turn our attention to another bigger storm system off picture to the west, organizing across the Pacific. So looking at wind speeds here, starting off Thursday midday, here's the compact little area of low pressure today that'll be triggering the low risk for some stronger storms, some locally heavy rainfall in the Missouri Valley. You see the southerly flow. In advance of that, those stronger winds coming in out of the northwest on the backside. This is the recipe for that red flag warning. Again, combined with the drier conditions there, those stronger winds could lead to the conditions for rapidly spreading fires. Now let's get it into the weekend. As I said, this storm system kind of washes out. You get it started here. Let's take it all the way back here. Thursday, nice organized compact area of low pressure really starts to weaken and fall apart as we get into Friday. So just 36 hours from now, where'd the area of low pressure go? Really, it's washed out at this point. We turn our attention off to the west, the big building area of low pressure across the Pacific Ocean that is really a marriage of two separate disturbances. Again, go back and watch Eric's video here. He shows how those kind of phase and then combine to bring us that chance for some measurable precipitation in the central U.S. So this is kind of how it evolves. The area of low pressure, it organizes here late this week, makes its way in across the northwest over the weekend. And then as we get to kind of early to mid next week, you can just follow the arrows here. This is the flow that we've not seen for really the last 1 to 2 months. That being this long fetch that comes across the Gulf of Mexico. We build, we take a lot of deep moisture then and transport that northward into the central U.S. So you just follow the arrows along. We're bringing this moisture north into the central U.S. We've got a front coming in, so you're seeing those arrows converging. I'll take it a little bit further in. Let's take it to about, this would be 1 p.m. Wednesday, October 30th. You see the strong flow coming in out of the Gulf of Mexico, and then the northerly flow on the backside there. So it's where the southerly flow and the northerly flow converge that we'll be sending that air upward. That means rising motion. We are generating rising motion with moisture-laden air, and that is how we finally generate some beneficial precipitation across the region. So unfortunately, this does not, it's not a permanent pattern shift. It's maybe the catalyst toward a pattern change that brings us in some more regular rains here. But this is not going to be, a real long duration pattern change that's going to be bringing in, 5, 6, 7 days or more of rain. It's going to be a couple of days here where we got to cash in on as much as we can. So let's take a look at that then, in a way that makes a little more intuitive sense with our precipitation forecast from the European model. Again, quickly going through the next 24 to 48 hours, here's that quick hitting chance for some showers and storms across parts of the central Corn Belt, the mid-Mississippi Valley, over toward the Missouri Valley over the next 24 to 48 hours. This gets out of here really by Friday evening. It's pretty much a memory. A weak front left here. Some disorganized showers, maybe a thunderstorm or two from the mid-south into the Ohio Valley up toward the northeast for your Friday afternoon and evening. We get a lull then, higher pressure for the weekend. It's going to be sunny and warm for a lot of us across the central U.S., pretty much the entirety of the Corn Belt enjoying a very nice weekend before the next storm system starts to make its way in early to midweek. So this is about Tuesday, Wednesday. You're starting to see the area of low pressure eject across the central plains. This will start to really ramp up the southerly flow, that transport of moisture northward from the Gulf of Mexico. It's going to be very windy and very warm across the central U.S. as this storm system kind of makes its way in. So that strong southerly flow brings us warm, humid air. That front comes in, and this is when we get that area of convergence. Again, northwesterly flow coming in on the backside. That southeasterly flow coming in advance. Those, the air meets in the middle. It's as simple as it sounds. It's forced upwards because it can't go down through the ground. So that air is forced up. It rises. It's full of moisture from the Gulf of Mexico. We create a big area of showers and storms. So that is the kind of the name of the game. That's the recipe. The area of low pressure is way off to the north here across the Hudson Bay. We just have this front extending back to the south. Where we could just have this extended line of showers and storms stretching from the Gulf, or the Great Lakes is what I meant to say here, down toward parts of West Texas. This will be Thursday morning, taking us into Friday. So now we're on Halloween. Could be a rainy Halloween for some of you here. Let's get it to about 7 p.m. Of course, we're getting out a week into the future, so don't lock it in here. But parts of the Ohio Valley, maybe a rainy, showery, perhaps in some areas stormy Halloween. That would be a big flip from a year ago. Halloween, seeing some accumulating snow across parts of the Midwest and the Eastern Corn Belt. It was not a fun one to be out trick-or-treating with the kiddos a year ago, 7 days from now. I'm getting very complicated here. Halloween a year ago, very cold. Halloween this year, maybe a bit more spring-like, well, with the chance for some showers and storms in the Ohio Valley. Now, taking a look at the total precipitation, again, the next 72 hours, next 48 hours, really, looking for that pocket of some heavier rain across parts of Iowa, Missouri, into northern Illinois, where we could certainly see half an inch to 3/4, maybe someone picking up an inch. Surrounding that, though, we're talking about maybe a tenth of an inch. All the way down here in central Illinois, where I'm recording this video, we're talking about maybe squeezing another tenth, maybe 2/10 of an inch of rain out of this. So enough to wet the top layer of the soil, not enough to really put a dent in the drought. Maybe a couple local areas here seeing that inch that could really kind of mitigate things a little bit in the near term. The bigger attention is going to be paid to the mid to late week storm system next week. So let's go ahead and just crawl forward. We're getting into midweek next week. So through Wednesday, October 30th, this is what we've got. We really ramped the precipitation up during the last half of the week. So there you're starting to see the bigger totals start to stack up with a couple of days of shower and thunderstorm activity across the area. So through November 3rd now, taking it through next weekend. You see here, we need this, but really we're going to have to kind of wait and see how exactly this evolves. Who is going to see the heaviest rain? I'm a little bit worried that it's going to be kind of a narrow corridor, kind of like what you see illustrated here from the European AI forecast system, where this is great. We're certainly not going to say no to it, but this is maybe a 100 to 200 mile wide corridor that can maybe pick up some significant rains. We'll still have a lot of folks in the Dakotas down to the high plains. I'm concerned maybe this kind of washes out as it gets into the Eastern Corn Belt and maybe getting into that, less than an inch kind of range. So this is not the drought buster precipitation event. This is good news. This is something we need to see. We'll be curious to see how much of a dent it makes. Kind of flipping over and look at another way of illustrating the probabilities here, the chance of picking up 1 inch or more. I'm sorry, this is half an inch or more of total precipitation over the next 10 days. Pretty good chance here between the two storm systems across parts of Iowa, Missouri, and northern Illinois that we're going to get that inch of rainfall here with the storms over the next 24 hours. And then next week's storm system, as I flip it over to 1 inch now, again, you'll see the best chance is going to be where we've got 2 chances for rain in the next 7 days. The best chance for stacking up an inch or more going to be confined to this area here where we get some rain over the, tonight into tomorrow morning. And then we get that next chance as we get toward mid to late next week. But a lot of folks here, we're looking at that 50 to 60% chance here. It's good news, but does this really take us into a big pattern change? We'll have to kind of wait and see. Certainly some gusty winds. As I mentioned, it's going to be warm and windy ahead of that next storm. So, max wind gusts. We're talking about Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday being the most windy time frame. I'll go ahead and bring this back and we'll watch it go through time. This is getting in through the weekend. And then as we get into Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, again, those strong southerly winds bringing in that warm, humid air. So it will be warm, windy, very spring-like from the southern U.S. into the central United States early next week. Start off looking at those low temperatures. Again, it's quite chilly in parts of the Great Lakes, into the central and eastern Corn Belt today. We are dropped down into the 30s here in central Illinois on the backside of a little front that snuck through. So we take a look at tomorrow morning. That's where we see that freeze and frost potential across parts of Nebraska, Kansas, and Colorado. A little bit warmer on the backside as we start to get warmer southerly flow in advance of the little shortwave that's making its way across the central U.S. right now. Get a little shot of cooler air for the weekend across the Corn Belt on the backside of the storm system making its way in right now. And that's what I want to flip over to look at the high temperatures here. We'll talk about the warm up early next week. So this is your Friday. Here's your Saturday. This is your Sunday. You start to see that warm up making its way in from west to east. Monday, we will be quite toasty across the plains, like summer warm in some of these areas here, mid to upper 80s. Maybe some areas flirting with 90 across western Oklahoma into the Texas Panhandle. Here is your Tuesday. And then here is your Wednesday. We start to bring the colder air in. Again, this is the recipe for a stormy central U.S. Warm east, cooler west. Jet stream is roaring along the contrast there, right along the line. And again, we've got that moisture being transported northward. We will get that shower and storm activity. Now, we do have to talk about some longer range issues here. Eric mentioned, and I'll reaffirm here, we're watching the potential for some tropical development here in the Caribbean late next week. This is not something that would, if it developed and if it moved northward, would not be something we're talking about into probably, the November 3rd through the 8th time frame, kind of get in deeper into the first week of November. So a long runway to watch this one, just something we are watching right now. Nothing developed, no high concern right now for the southeast yet. Now we take a look at the forecast precipitation outlook for the month of November, just checking back in with this. A lot of green across the central U.S. This is good. My question is how much of this is based on, the first few days of November? Because if you if I take this and flip it over to a 7-day sliding window, let's bring it back to the beginning of this forecast period. Again, the first week of November, quite active. We've talked about that, in depth. This is the mid to late week storm system that comes in and then takes us through the weekend. So sometimes this model can lean toward persistence, starting off with what's ongoing right now. But as we get deeper into November, you kind of see that anomalously wet signal start to fade. So we kind of get into, is this a long-term pattern change? Is the storm system late next week going to be kind of a blip in what's really going to be a drier pattern overall? Those are questions that we'll be trying to answer here over the next couple of weeks. Now, this is captured well by the NOAA, the Climate Prediction Center, your days 6 to 10, and then days 8 to 14 here on the right. So again, warm east, cooler west. That sets the stage for a stormier, unsettled pattern across the central United States. Does that last into the middle part of November? Well, again, we lose some confidence here. The weeks 3 and 4 update here. This is November 2nd through the 15th from the Climate Prediction Center. Again, not shutting it down, not flipping us to a completely dry pattern, but we just kind of lose that confidence. So equal chances here, just kind of a neutral look here. Again, what's next? What comes after the storm system here late next week? It's going to be a quieter period initially, as I just kind of bring you over here looking at the European ensemble. Your 500 millibar jet stream winds kind of step backwards in time to get us to the period here late next week. Here it is again, warm east, cooler west, jet stream roaring in between. That sets the stage for, heavy precipitation, southwest flow. That's what we need. That transports moisture northward. That gives us the lift here for organized rain. And of course, that's what we have late next week, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. We lose that though. This system, continues to move on. That's common. Do we kind of immediately line back up with another period of southwest flow? No. We get into November 5th, 6th, and 7th. The ensembles are showing here, troughing to the east, troughing over here over the Pacific, but kind of northwest flow across from Western Canada down through the Corn Belt. So this is a drier look. You can see it here one more way to kind of finish this up. I love this animation. This is the precipitable water chart. So taking a look at how much moisture is in the total column of the atmosphere. So brown shading, that's where it's drier. That green and yellow shading and the red is where it's real tropical moist. But this is what we have right now. That front kind of swept through, bringing in a shot of drier air. Kind of roll this forward. You see the northward transport of moisture here over the next 24 hours. This is the storm system that brings that low risk of severe weather and some locally heavy rainfall tonight into tomorrow morning. You see that little, surge of moisture. That's the late week storm system here. This week we see drier air coming on the backside. It's going to be a cooler, sunny, quiet weekend across the Corn Belt. And then we get into early next week. You'll start to see the flow do what the winds were showing on that thing. The wind chart I showed you earlier coming across the Gulf of Mexico and then being lifted northward. So here you see that transport of moisture as we get into the Halloween time frame. Drier, cooler off to the west, warmer and more humid toward the east. Right along that line is where we'll see that upward vertical motion generating showers and storms. This does not last permanently though. As I mentioned, though, the front clears the area. We get a couple days of that rain. We're back to a drier pattern. The moisture is now shunned back off to the Gulf of Mexico. We'll need to wait for what's next. Do we get another storm system that comes in? Do we get another period of southwest flow that's going to take that moisture and have a surge back toward the north, giving us another round of precipitation? Or is this going to be, a rain that we badly need, but then followed up by another couple of dry weeks? Those are the questions we'll be looking to answer here as we head into the weekend. I'm going to leave you with that. Again, Matt will have an update for you tomorrow. Look for those showers and storms across the Missouri Valley into the central Corn Belt tonight into tomorrow morning. A quiet weekend, a warm start to next week, followed by some showers and storms to finish off the next week across the central U.S. Some badly needed moisture.